So do you love plaid but don't have the patience for Modge Podge and glitter? Well, stay tuned when I show you how to make this beautiful plaid tumbler in just a few easy steps. Hi, I'm Jessica with JC Creative, and if this is your first time here, I would like to welcome you. If you are a fellow creative who loves DIY projects, anything from tumblers to teas, home decor, we have a little bit of everything for everyone, and I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel below and be sure to ring the little bell to be notified of new tutorials I post each and every Monday. Okay, so in this week's episode of Make It Monday, we are going to tackle what's typically a tough kind of tumbler style. Normally a plaid tumbler would be done with paint and Modge Podge and glitter. It's very time consuming. They're beautiful, but they do take a lot of time. So in this week's episode, we are going to go over a very easy method for creating a plaid tumbler that is going to save you a ton of time. But before we jump in and get started, I do want to let you know that I have a very exciting announcement at the end of the video, so be sure to stay to the end to hear what's coming up next. So, are you ready? Let's get started. Okay, so for today's project, you are going to need tumbler of your choice, white and clear spray paint, white glitter and a coordinating glitter with your pattern, a full sheet water slide, your decal of choice, your epoxy and your safety tools, and all your other miscellaneous supplies, your stirrers, your cups, your heat gun, those kind of things. That is what you're going to need to complete this project. Sorry about these voiceover guys, but the first part of my video got cut out. So step one of this tutorial is going to be to spray paint our tumbler. However, I don't want you to spray paint it and let it dry. For this tumbler, we are going to actually glitter over white spray paint. We're going to use the spray paint as our adhesive versus doing epoxy or doing Mod Podge. We're going to actually put our white glitter over top of our white spray paint. So the first step I'm going to do is spray paint my tumbler. So I'm going to do that and I'm going to come back and I'm going to bring it back wet. Okay, so while this is wet, we are going to put our glitter on here, if you can see. So I'm just going to sprinkle it like I always would. Spray paint dries pretty quick, so I am trying to glitter pretty quick here. I don't know if you can see. So see how it sticks right to that paint? And then it's going to dry, and the paint only takes like, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. I'll actually add a clear coat on top of this just to seal that in. But we get pretty good coverage first go round, which is perfect because we're epoxying this and putting water slide over top of it. So I'm going to sit this real quick on my drying rack while I clean up this glitter, and then we're going to come back, we're going to do the red. Okay, so I got my cup off the drying rack. We're good. I clear coated it nice and sealed up. So next up we need to get some epoxy on there, and I need to get this bad boy on my turner. And I have a lot of people ask me about my turner. This is from Tracy and Chaz Crafting Solutions, and they come with these really cool vices, and they fit multiple size cups. Shrink it down a little bit here. So you just put it in there, and then I just screw to tighten, make sure it's level on the ends here, and then I tighten it down. And then I get it on my turner. So I do use I use Pro Marine epoxy. So it is an equal parts A and B mix. So if you haven't watched my other videos, or if you have, you'll know that I like to warm up part A. So I'll measure my part A. I will warm that up. Then I will pour in my part B, I will stir until clear, and then I will put it on my cup. So right now, I'm gonna get this fixed. But I'm gonna fast forward that part of the video. But just so you know, that's my process, is warm up A, and we do equal parts A and B, so I'm warming up A, then I'm gonna mix in equal parts of B, I'm gonna stir until clear, and then we're gonna put on the cup. So I am going to fast forward that, and we'll be back when I'm ready to add it to the cup. Okay, so I have our epoxy all mixed up, ready for a cup. I did mix more than I need. If you notice, I mixed up a pretty big batch. I have some cups behind us that need a little epoxy, so I use the extra there. But since we are covering glitter, it tends to need a little bit more than if you already have a smooth surface. And I must have bumped a little bit of red on here, so I'm just brushing those little glitters off. So I'm gonna put a thin coat on. I'm going to hit it with my flame, and then I'm going to put a little flood coat on after that. And remember, we are covering this with water slide when we're done here. Like this whole entire cup is going to get a full water slide wrap. The reason that we are putting this glitter on there is because the water slide is clear. So it's colored water slide, but it's translucent. So the hope is that when we put this on over top of a glitter, some of that glitter texture is going to show through on our water slide, and it'll almost appear as if you glittered the cup, but we really didn't take the time to make all those squares of glitter on our cup. We literally cheated, which is what we're doing, which is all good. We'll see how it turns out. We might love it, we might hate it, but just another option to get the same kind of look if you despise Modge Podge as much as I do. I'm doing the bottom last because I'm going to try not to get any red. And even though I clear coated it, there's still going to be some red that transfers. All right, so I'm going to I use these reusable silicone bowls. They're super awesome because you can pour from them, you can wipe them out, reuse them. They're pretty good with the heat. Okay, let that turn a sec. I'm gonna change my glove because I do have some red glitter on my glove, and I do not want to get it in that white when I go back into the white after I hit it with my flame real quick. So I do use a little kitchen torch to pop any of the micro bubbles. So the first coat really is to prime the cup, get everything wet so the epoxy has a nice smooth surface to adhere to when you put your flood coat on. So I'm just gonna hit it real quick, and you probably can't see it on camera, but there are little micro bubbles that are popping. I'm just gonna pop that first layer. And this is in my supply list too, the torch that I use. So then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to just pour a really thin stream here. I want a smooth surface for our water slide to go onto. So I do want to make sure that the epoxy is thick enough. I'm not terribly worried about the bottom because it is going to get another coat for sure. Because once we do this, we do the water slide, then a thin coat of epoxy, then the decal, and another thin coat of epoxy. Because you have to put epoxy between the water slide and the decal, or it will mess up your water slide. All right, so we are gonna let this spin solid 8-10 hours, probably overnight. And when we come back tomorrow, we will be ready to put our water slide on our tumbler and we'll see what we get. So be back in a bit. Okay, so we're back. Our cup is dry. I have a container of water because the next step is going to be to put on our full sheet water slide. And you might notice this is a little different than the one I showed before because I realized I printed the wrong size water slide. And then when I went back to print it again, the file crashed and I lost it and I had to remake it. So it's not exactly the same, but pretty close. So this one should be the right size. So my container of water, this is like a 10 by 15. Honestly, it's a cupcake carrier, but it works perfect for full-size water slides. So I'm going to turn on my turner here. And I want it turning towards, well, towards the, like, kind of, I guess it would be counterclockwise is how I want it to turn. I'm going to go ahead and put, well, I guess it doesn't, I guess it would matter, I guess if you're right-handed, left-handed, whatever, how you would put them on. So I'm going to put my water slide in here. It naturally wants to curve. I'm just kind of gently pressing it down to get it flattened out in my little tub here. And I'm going to let that sit there a bit. I'm going to wet this all down. Get it nice and going here. While this starts to loosen up. So my water slide, the key to water slide is a good clear coat. And what I do is I use this Krylon Color Master Crystal Clear Gloss. It's an indoor-outdoor clear coat, and I put 4-5 coats on. It looks like super glossy before I put it in the water, and that's the key. If you are struggling with water slide, chances are it is your clear coat that you're putting on, because I manhandle these quite a bit when I do this, and typically I don't have a problem. I mean, I'm not saying it never happens, but once I started using a good, clear, thick clear coat, I really didn't have much more problem. So once it starts to loosen up, I just kind of pull it off the paper and I put it back down. I just want to make sure in the center it's off. I have had it snag on me before. So I just make sure the whole piece is loose before I pick it up and start putting it on the thing. Alright, so I got it off here. Go ahead and let that water run. And I'm going to start on that edge. That's why you want your tumbler wet, because you're going to be kind of shifting this as it goes, lays down a little up and down, making sure it's straight. We might have, yeah, we have just a teeny tiny bit of overlap, which I will trim off eventually. So I'm going to take a baby wipe. A wet baby wipe here, and I'm just going to start smoothing this out. That's why we wet it before we put it down. That way it'll slide. Stop it for a minute right here. Just see which way's up and which way's down. We'll put a little more water in here. Keeping it wet is the key as you're playing with this bad boy, so. And I'm just using my fingers to kind of pull it tight, scoot it up, make sure it's aligned to the top and the bottom. Ooh, a little too hard. Oh my goodness. There we go. If you're using your hand, just make sure you keep them wet, because that's the key. Wet hands, wet rags, everything wet until you got it where you want it. And then, and the reason I pulled this back is because I want to be able to, as I'm pushing those wrinkles to the end, I want to be able to kind of pull them out. Make sure I get a nice smooth lay on here. But see how much I'm playing with this and touching it? And it's not, this thing's turning the wrong direction on me. There we go. I mean, I don't have any rips, I don't have any breaks. So I'm really able to play and work these wrinkles out, which you can't do if you don't have a good top coat on your water slide. And there's still plenty of water. If you've got wrinkles underneath there, then that means there's water underneath there. We want to get as much of that water out of there as possible. So I'm just keep smoothing, and you'll feel it. And then pull this in that way, pull this in that way. Kind of get those wrinkles pushed to that center seam, and then we're able to smooth it out there. Now it's getting smooth. All right. It's pretty smooth along that back side. So now I'm going to take and push all these wrinkles this way. Finish smoothing that out, and then the ones that are kind of down here, I'm pushing up this way. So I'm kind of going from the middle of the back up here. There. I don't feel any wrinkles back in there. Okay, I'm gonna go get a brand new X-Acto blade. I want a super sharp X-Acto blade to fix this seam. So let me grab my X-Acto and I will be right back. Okay, so I went and got a brand new blade. So what I want to do And you can see if I peel this back just a little bit. So this, where it's darker, is where these squares are overlapping these squares. So what I want to do is cut right along that edge to make a clean edge, which is why I got the brand new blade. I am gonna have to move it to the top. I know it sucks, y'all can't see it, but I can't really do it from that angle. So I am going to, if you don't have a steady hand, you could kind of put a ruler here and do it. I'm gonna do this with just my bare hand here. And if I cut wrong, then I'll have either still have a dark line or we'll have a white space. So I'm gonna try really hard to cut right along that dark line. Pretty good. Really let it spin around and you guys can decide. Down here there's just a little teeny tiny edge that goes over, and it'll push right over onto the bottom. Okay, see it? So it's just right here is a teeny tiny sliver left of the overlap. So I am going to try and get it. There we go. I may have over trimmed it just a teeny tiny bit because there's still some slide in this. I'm just gonna wet my finger, push that together. What do you think? I think it looks pretty darn good. Okay, so if you look close up, so see why we put the white glitter on there? Because under the water, under the clear water slide, it does look like we have a glittered plaid tumbler. So I do have to let this dry before I can epoxy it, and I have to epoxy it before I can put on our decal that's going on there, which is going to be this one, and it's going to be super cute. So down at the bottom there, goodness, I just got this piece stuck on my finger and it will not go away. There's a couple little bits of wrinkles and water pockets here. I'm just going to take this, I'm going to curl it over the edge of the bottom. Oh my goodness, that stuff off my fingers. We want this to be real dry before we epoxy it. You don't want to epoxy when there's still moisture in it. Some people speed up the process and they'll use a heat gun or whatever. I'm not a big fan of that. So I typically will just let it air dry. But this template for these 22 ounce hogs, it fits perfectly up and down. Now the width, it changes, and when I do these, normally I don't have a glitter layer on them, so I would put them just straight on the cup. after I spray paint it white. Well, when you add a glitter layer, then your cup is wider. So this template for a glitter cup is actually about 1/4 inch longer than the ones that go on just a plain spray painted cup. So that's why I had to reprint it, because I had forgotten about that extra depth you get. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with it. It's way quicker than Mod Podge and glittering each square, and it's way more perfect and symmetrical too, which I love. So I'm gonna let this air dry. Then we're gonna add a layer of epoxy, let that dry, decal, final layer of epoxy, and then this baby will be ready to go. So we will be back when this is dry to throw in some epoxy. See you soon. Okay, we are back. I've let this guy dry overnight and it looks wonderful. So it is time to put on some epoxy. I'm going to put a thin coat of epoxy on here before we put on our decal, because I don't want the decal to pull the water slide off, which does happen. It just, I mean, I've done decals without doing the epoxy. Sometimes I get lucky, sometimes I don't, but I don't want to take a chance. So I'm going to put a very thin layer of epoxy on here. This isn't meant to be a flood coat. It simply is just to seal in that water slide. So like before, I am going to warm up my part A. We're going to do equal parts A and B. This is Pro Marine epoxy. I'm going to warm up part A. I'm going to put in part B. I'm going to stir till clear, and it's going to be ready to go on the cup. So I'm going to fast forward that part just to save some time on the video, and then I'll be right back when it is ready to go on the cup. Okay, I have my epoxy all ready to go. Move these bottles out of my way. Alright, so I'm just going to pour on a thin coat. You just want to seal in this water slide and give our decal something smooth to adhere to. And I did mix a big batch because I do have other cups. What is that? Behind me that need to get a layer right after I'm done with this one. All right, so I'm going to hit it really quick with my torch. I'm not going to put another layer on top of this. Normally, I would put that thin coat and then like a flood coat. But in this case, I'm going to put a decal on and it's going to get more epoxy. And I just don't want too much epoxy on here. So the purpose of this layer is just to seal in my water slide. I don't want it getting damaged when I put on the vinyl decal. So this is just a protective layer. I'm not going to put on a flood coat yet. Okay, so we are going to let that turn until dry, and then we will be back to add our decal and hopefully final top coat. See you in a bit. Okay, we are back, and our cup is dry and smooth, and it is ready for our decal. So this is the decal that I'm going to be putting on our cup today. And this, you can get this SVG file or the decal on our website, or you can use any decal you have in your own arsenal, Etsy, wherever you get your decals from. So I pre-made this, so I'm just going to make sure it's all tacked on here. I forgot my squeegee in the other room to squeegee this bad boy. Stuck down. There we go. There we go. Now this is 5 colors total when you count the offset, so quite a few colors on this one. So where was the back at? I can't even remember. Let me see if I can find our seam here, as I want the logo to go in the front, not the back. Let's see. There's our seam, so I'm going to let that rotate around to the back. Should be about there. Yeah, close enough. All right, so I'm going to put this on the front of my cup. I'm going to just kind of center it top and bottom. I lay these fatty cups, the skinny cups, anything that's a perfect cylinder makes putting decals and stuff on a breeze, because you don't have to worry about any tapered edges. Everything just goes on super, super smooth. Gently turn it. All down, looks pretty, the colors look good, yay, yay, yay. All right, so last step is putting a top coat of epoxy on it. So we're just going to repeat the steps from earlier. I am going to warm up part A, mix in equal parts of part B, stir until clear, and then we're going to be ready to throw in the cup. So I'm going to fast forward that part, and we'll be right back ready to put it on our cup. epoxy already. Flip on our turner. There. I like it to turn that direction. I don't know. I like it. If my hand's here, I like it coming towards my hand because I like to pour on and then swoop that way. So I am going to put on a thin coat, which is what I call priming the cup. I'm going to prime the cup. I'm going to hit it with my torch. And then I'm going to flood some more on top of that. Now this vinyl is several layers thick. Because of that offset, it's most places have like two layers of the vinyl, so it is a thicker than decal than normal. I'm just smoothing this out, making sure every single spot is shiny. That's what you want. This is my priming layer. I'm priming my cup to get ready for its flood coat. Okay. Oh, where is my little torch? There he is. Okay. So I just do this to pop any bubbles that ended up in this very first layer before I pour on another layer, and it'll get hit with a torch again. So super fast. Don't stay in one place too long. You don't want it hot. It's really the gases from this thing that really pop those bubbles anyways. There we go. We are back around to front again. And links to all the tools that I use, there is a nice little convenient list on my website where I have gathered links to all the lots of tools I use, the inks, the paper, all that good stuff. Not stuff I sell, but links to where I get it from. I'm going to just take a thin stream here and flood it on. I should get all that there. All right. So epoxy is self-leveling. So most of this, where I've poured it on, it will level itself. I'll give it a little help if I see a spot where it looks thicker than others. Make sure everyone's getting the same amount of epoxy, but I don't normally these flood coats I don't play with a lot. I let the epoxy do its job, which is to level out itself. The more you play with it, the more bubbles you can get, the more, you know, particles or dust or anything. So I really do try not to touch it a lot. I'll let it circulate here for a minute or two, level itself out. I'll make sure that see if I move my light a little closer. Good light helps you to see any kinds of dips and divots and anything like that. So you want to have a good lighting in your workstation. If you don't, because I can just see by the reflection if the coat's going to be good or not. Like I've barely touched it. I see a few. We've got a few little bubbles in here, but a lot of your bubbles will naturally pop as it turns. So normally give it a minute or two to do its thing. Make sure it's all level. Make sure I don't need to add any more epoxy. Make sure I got enough on the bottom. And then I'm going to hit it one more time with my torch. Sometimes I'll come back 10 minutes from now and do it again. Like if I see... I watch my cups pretty closely the first 20 to 30 minutes they're on the turner. Because here's the deal. If I come in here in 15 minutes and I see a divot, like a spot that is not... for whatever reason, maybe there's oil on my hand, maybe there's a random piece of glitter, but you know those little spots that just don't get covered. If I come in like 15 minutes from now, my epoxy is kind of set, but I can take one of my little, I Oh, this one's in bad shape. It's got all kinds of epoxy on it. But I have these little silicone brushes. I will take my heat gun, warm up that spot, take my silicone brush, I'll level it out, hit it with that heat gun. Perfect. It will clear your errors a lot of times. So the first 30 minutes, I watch these bad boys pretty close. At 30 minutes, they should be perfectly smooth, in good shape, and just waiting to dry. So I might come back 10 minutes or so. I might have to do this again. I might not. But just letting you know, it's part of my process where I will come and check. Right now, the coat looks really good. It looks super smooth. I don't see anything built up on the decal or anything missing on the decal. I don't see any divots in here. It looks pretty smooth. So I am going to let it do its thing. I'm going to let this dry. And we should come back to a perfectly done and ready cup. So I will see you in a bit. Okay, so here's our finished tumbler off the turner, and I just love it. I really do love the full wrap water slides. I think they're super easy to do, but I want to know what you think. Do you think this project was easy, hard? Is it something you would try on your own? Do you have questions about it? I would love to answer, so just post in the comments below and let me know what you think. If you like this design, the SVG file or the pre-made decal, the links are below. You can get those from our website. There's also a link below of all the supplies we use, our epoxy, where we get our cups, where we get our water slides, where we get our vinyl. All of that is in a nice, easy list on our website, and that link is below. And then the last link you find below is actually to our Facebook group. And if you're not a member, we would love to have you. Just click that link, jump over, and join in and see what it's all about. Now, if you stayed to the end, I want to thank you for hanging out with me so long. So next week, Monday, September 30th, I'm going to do something just a little bit different. So I love fall. It is my favorite season, and Halloween is one of my favorite holidays. So I wanted to do something cool for Halloween, and I decided to put together a playlist, a collaboration between you guys and me, collecting all of the best Halloween tumbler videos. So this week I'm going to be working on a really cool Halloween tumbler as my tutorial, and I'm asking, encouraging, challenging you guys to do the same. So I want you to go out, make a cool Halloween tumbler, and then post it on our playlist, which is going to be the Great Halloween Tumbler Playlist. And the list will end up being a beautiful collaboration between all kinds of creatives, a place where we can all go see some really cool Halloween tumblers to be encouraged by, inspired by, and just enjoy. And I would love to have that collaboration with you guys. So if you're not on YouTube, that's fine. We want to see your beautiful cups too. So on Instagram, simply post and hashtag the Great Halloween Tumbler. And same with Facebook, post, share, hashtag the Great Halloween Tumbler, and we will all get to enjoy everybody's beautiful arts pieces of work, which is really, really exciting because I love to see what other people do. So hopefully you guys will all be able to join in the fun, and I'm super excited. So I will see you next Monday.